Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, bonjour, good morning, good evening. Apologies. I think I promised an analysis of that car crash interview between Brad and Isla. Her name is spelled Isla. I think she pronounced it Isla. I'll get to that later. It's not ready yet. There's so much to say about it. But in the meantime, I wanted to take a few minutes to explain why the heart of the problem, why the Jay Slater case has not been solved. I'll get to Brad and Isla later because there's a lot there. But I thought I'd go straight to the heart of why this case is unsolved. And I'm going to call it the Colombia principle, or the Medellin principle, because Tenerife has become Colombia, as far as I can see. But what I mean about the Colombia principle, okay. I'll cut a long story short. I've been to Colombia a few times. I went there last January for a week. Went to Medellin. I've been to Bogota a few times, two or three times. Went to Medellin. The dangerous city, yeah? Oh, it's so dangerous. Well, I was intrigued by why, what makes Medellin dangerous, especially for tourists. The reputation it has, gangsters, kidnappings, shootings, the rest of it. Um, so I got in conversation with someone in a bar who seemed quite keen to explain all this. And I said, so do local Colombians worry about the awful crime rate? And his answer was not really, not particularly, because they are largely unaffected by it. Or if they are, the Colombian police will actually do what they can to work on crime. So I said, well, that implies that the Colombian police don't do anything in Medellin. They're not going to do anything for me if I get in trouble. And he said, exactly right. And the way this guy described it was he said, there's an unwritten contract involved here. And the unwritten contract is if you, as a visitor, step into some kind of underworld in Colombia, and I don't know, let's say you want to do whatever, mm, um, drogas, whatever substances you want to do, you can do that. There's no problem. It's fine. The police aren't going to come looking for you. If you want to spend the night with, two prostitutes, go ahead. No problem. No one's going to bother you with that here. The problem is, if you step into that world and you get in trouble, the unwritten contract is the police are not here to bail you out. You're not a real victim. You stepped into that world. The police have other priorities. I mean, if a little kid is kidnapped and held hostage, they're going to do what they can. But if you come here and you think you can enjoy the fruits of Medellin, Colombia for a week or two, you get in trouble and you expect us to help. That's not in the contract. We might do what we can, but we probably won't. Now, that's the harsh reality. And that's why I say Tenerife has become Colombia. I think there's an unwritten contract now in Tenerife that if you come from the UK and if you want to sell your substances on Veronica's Strip and if you want to party at the festival and do all this stuff, you can do that. The police aren't going to drive up and start arresting you every night of the week. Obviously not. So here's the unwritten contract. You can come here, you can do all that. We will look the other way. But the part of the unwritten contract I think the young ones don't get in Tenerife is if that leads to trouble for you, we have no obligation to bail you out. And that is the heart of the problem. In other words, I think in Tenerife, the young British, whatever nationality, they're mainly British, the young British people that are there doing what they're doing are not of equal value to local people or local concerns. In other words, they don't, the Brandons, the Brads, the Lucys, the Jays, they don't deserve the attention that they demand. So I think that is the reason. If someone said, why is the Jay Slater case after nearly 4 months not solved? In one sentence, I would say it's the Colombian principle. It is not viewed by the Spanish police that this case deserves to be solved. And that is why so many people, local people in Tenerife, weren't that bothered by the case and aren't that bothered by the case. You step into the trap. We're not here to release you. That is the heart of the problem. Some people get this, some people don't. I think, for all his faults, Ayub, who comes across as somewhat retarded when he speaks, if you've listened to him, I don't think he's retarded about this. I think if Rocky went missing on a hike in the mountains, I don't think Ayub's going to be rushing to the Guardia Civil to say, my mate's gone missing, can you send out a helicopter? No, not going to happen. But in their naive world, the Lucys, the Brads, etc., and the Jays think that somehow they can play fast and loose in Tenerife and they have equal protection. They've learnt the hard way that they don't. So, okay, that's the Colombian principle. This has all happened because Tenerife has become Colombia. I want to answer an important question someone asked me about did I think that Lucy's statements, lost in translation, had caused some kind of problem with the police? Yes, I don't know for sure. Yes, I think so. I think there was a big problem when Lucy first went to report all this to the police. And I'll explain why. Remember, in one of those interviews, Lucy said quite clearly that Jay's out there, he's lost, and he's got no phone. That's what she said. Now, if she said the same thing when she reported this, all right, she goes into the police station, she says, I've got a serious problem here. My friend who is wandering around near Mascus somewhere, and he's got no phone, he's been missing an hour. Can you help me? All right. Okay, you said he's got no phone. So where is he exactly? And then Lucy pulls out her phone and she says, well, you see this dot here an hour ago? That's where he was. He sent me that on his phone. Okay, so your friend who has no phone is missing, but he's not missing because he's right there. He was there an hour ago. How old is your friend? Is he 9? No, no, my friend is 19. He's 19. Right. So this dot, which is on a busy road, that's where he was an hour ago, and he's missing. He doesn't have a phone, but he does have a phone. Now, I'm sorry, the police officer is going to look at the calendar to see if it's April 1st, and then do what they did. They're going to say, young lady, I tell you what, take this form, yeah, take this form, go fill it out, missing persons form, 24 hours. If your friend, your 9-year-old friend, sorry, your 19-year-old friend hasn't showed up from where he was on the main road there, then you come back here and we will work on it. But I think you'll find he'll show up. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I've got a feeling that's how it came across when Lucy first reported this. She reported it as a missing person, which it wasn't. Um, okay, let's paint the other scenario. What would have happened if Lucy had told the truth, the whole truth? Let's do this again. Excuse me, officer, I've got a really serious problem. My friend is on the run from gangsters because my friend and we're all involved with a substance mafia, let's call it. We work on Veronica's Strip. You know what we do. Well, anyway, my friend, he just spent the last 2 or 3 hours with a convicted drug dealer and his friend, who's also a convicted dealer, at an Airbnb. And now I don't know exactly where he is, but I have a fear that some mafia guys are trying to chase him down and maybe kill him. Can you help me? I think the answer to that is yes. This is deadly serious. Do not go up to that area where you said your friend is. We will get in touch with the Santiago police. They will go along that main road and hopefully they get to your friend before the gangsters do. Okay, I really think had Lucy told the whole truth, this again would have been resolved. Lucy can't say the whole truth. But when Lucy doesn't tell the full story, she still blames the people that don't understand her story that somehow they screwed up. I don't like defending the Guardia Civil because they have messed up and they could have done, obviously, they could have done so much better. I think they could have saved a life here. But one of the reasons the Guardia Civil did not save Jay's life is because they were never told what the problem is. They were told a lot of BS, whole cock and bull story about a missing person. And from that point on, number one, the Guardia Civil didn't really care because he's a 19-year-old British guy that's volunteered to go in the underworld of Tenerife, and lo and behold, it didn't work out. And number two, they weren't given the details that could have helped solve the case. That's only part of the problem. But I hope you understand my frustration that had the Guardia Civil been told the whole truth, they might have acted differently. Jay Slater, I believe, would still be alive. That merry gang of teenagers that have enjoyed the high life in Tenerife have also put themselves in the position where they can no longer go to the police and report a problem unless they tell the whole story. And as we all know, they will not and cannot tell the whole story. The Colombia principle has hit Tenerife.